A King and a Donkey, a play for broadcasting by John D. Slazer. The characters are the boss, the owner of donkeys, Colin Bean; Harold, a self-opinionated donkey, John D. Slazer; Arthur, a younger donkey, Denise Baglow. The scene is a stable in Bethphage, at the foot of the Mount of Olives, and not very far from the city of Jerusalem.
There you are, Harold. You have a nice rest now. You deserve it. You've worked hard today, you have and all. There's some fresh straw here. I'll put it down for you. And a special treat for you. An extra helping of oats. Then how's that? Well, it's only fair after what you've had to do today, and you've earned a fair bit for your master. You could have done with some help. Arthur should have been back by now. Can't think where he can have got to, but you cope very well all the same. Good night, old lad.
Old lad? Who does he think he's calling old? I'm a sight younger than him, though I must look 100 after what I've been through today. Oh, my poor back, it's aching off, and my feet are killing me. I'll bet my coat's in a right mess too. It'll have to wait till tomorrow, though. I just can't be bothered tonight. I can hardly be bothered eating, but I suppose I'll make the effort.
Here is Arthur. Just found him wandering outside. Heaven only knows where he's been to. But still, he's found his way home, and that's all that matters. Looks none the worse for his adventure. Go on then, settle down, the pair of you. I'll give you a good brushing in the morning. There you are, rest well.
It's very good of you to honour us with your presence, I'm sure, and not before time.
I'm sorry. I didn't think that I was going to be away this long.
I've been worked to death all day with sightseers, and some of them blooming heavy and all.
I said I was sorry.
You've been gone for days. Where do you think you've been?
I don't know. I just went for a walk. I got lost.
I believe you. Thousands wouldn't. Sounds like an excuse to me to get out of the work. If I've carried one person up that hill today, I've carried 100, and you just went for a walk. How very convenient.
But I'd been on an important job before I went.
You? On an important job? Don't make me laugh. They wouldn't give you an important job. Important jobs are reserved for me, and well, you know it.
Well, they must have decided on having a change, perhaps.
All right then. What was this important job?
I had to carry a king.
You what?
I had to carry a king.
Now, that is a laugh, that is. Who'd let a scrawny thing like you carry a king?
You can say what you like. I carried a king, I tell you.
Listen, I don't want to offend you in any way, and you're not a bad donkey as donkeys go. But who in their right mind would let a king ride on you when I'm here?
I was chosen.
You was chosen? Yes, you was chosen, all right. Chosen for a joke. Someone's played a joke on you, that's what it is.
It was no joke. He was a king.
Yes, king of fools, most likely. You'd be made an ass of. Carrying a king of fools.
That's not true. You're making it up. Your trouble is you're jealous. Jealous that they didn't ask for you. You're just trying to spoil it for me.
Now listen, Shortlegs. I have no need to be jealous of anybody. I've had some pretty important people riding on my back, I can tell you.
Never said you hadn't.
And I am very well known in the transport business. I'm reliable, see? I don't go for little walks getting lost.
I couldn't help it.
I'm sure, but the fact is the word gets around, and if they'd wanted a donkey for somebody as high up as a king, they would have asked for me. It makes sense.
But this time they didn't ask for you, did they?
Look, just button it, will you? You're beginning to get on my nerves. I want to hear no more of your rubbish.
He was a king.
I won't tell you again.
He was.
Look, what have I...
Look, I refuse to be bullied by you, Mr. High and Mighty. I know what I know, so you can button it yourself.
Oh, get you. Coming on a bit uppity all of a sudden, aren't you? Getting a bit above yourself, my lad.
Maybe I am, but it's not before time. I'm forever listening to you droning on about how wonderful you are, when I get a chance to do something worthwhile, I'm going to talk about it if I want to. Understand?
Oh, all right. Keep your mane on. Tell me all about it.
As I've said before, I was chosen to carry a king. He was a king.
OK, then. Let us analyse the situation. You carried a king, you say, and I say you didn't. A question, if I may. What sort of crown was your king wearing?
He didn't wear a crown.
He didn't wear a crown? Well, there you are, then. That proves my point. All kings wear crowns. Your passenger didn't wear a crown, so he was no king.
He might very well have been having it cleaned or something, so it proves nothing.
Look, no self-respected king appears in public without his crown on.
Well, this one did.
Oh, I give up.
You know, it's funny, but though he didn't wear a crown, there was a sort of a shining around his head, just as if he was wearing a crown of the brightest gold.
A shining? Round his head?
Yes, a beautiful glow.
I think you've been at the grass seed, my friend.
There was a glow round my king's head.
Well, there could well have been a glow, just a trick of the light. A beautiful glow indeed.
There was a glow.
Oh, yes, then, there was a glow. Of course there was. Now, just take it easy and have a little lie down.
Do you know you get right up my snout?
Oh, thanks very much.
There was a glow.
There was a glow.
Round my king's head.
Round your king's head. OK, let's have another look at this king. Which hand did he carry his sceptre in?
He didn't carry a sceptre.
Oh, so he had no crown and no sceptre, but he was a king? Ha!
Well, maybe someone was bringing them for him later on.
Oh, yes, of course. How silly of me not to have thought of that. I mean, that's what all kings do, isn't it? Just so no one will know that they are kings.
If you'd been there, you would have known he was a king.
Would I?
Yes, you would. Everybody else did.
I'm missing something here. Was he perhaps bedecked in gold chains and precious rings with diamonds and rubies on his hands?
Nothing at all like that.
A gold-woven robe, then? Oh, he must have at least had some sort of flashy robe on.
No flashy robe of any description.
But he was a king.
He certainly was.
I'm baffled.
Oh, you should have heard the people shouting. You wouldn't have been baffled then. There were thousands of them.
All shouting? Shouting what?
They were shouting out as loud as they could, "King! King!"
King who, though?
I can't remember.
Oh, he must have been some great king if you can't remember his name, I ask you.
It'll come back to me. Give it time. I feel a bit bewildered by it all.
Yes, I've noticed. I wonder if by any chance you can recall what or where he was king of.
He was king of everywhere.
You are very definitely off your rocker. You just want to listen to yourself for 1 minute. You see what I mean?
I expect it does sound a bit crazy. Perhaps a lot crazy. But I'm not. He was a king. It was as plain as anything. Why, the people threw their coats down on the road for us to walk on, and they grabbed palm leaves and threw them down on the road as well. That's just what they do for a king.
Are you sure that they weren't throwing them at you?
No, they were not. They threw them down for us to walk on.
Oh, of course they did. They said to themselves, "Here comes the king of everywhere without his crown and sceptre. Oh, but hasn't he got a lovely glow round his head? And behold, he is riding on a most noble beast, Let us throw down our coats upon the road and spread palm leaves before them, so that our royal king and his army can pass along in comfort.
He didn't have an army.
He didn't have an army.
Nope, he didn't even have a soldier.
Do you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to be good to you. I'm going to forget everything you've said to me. I shan't repeat a single word of it to anyone. We'll forget the whole thing. I've had quite enough. It's been a hard day. I'm tired and I need my rest. Okay?
Do you know, my mother told me this might happen to me one day.
Blimey, he's off again. Your mother is probably as nutty as you are. She was no doubt a carrier of kings as well, was she?
No, she wasn't a carrier of kings.
Oh, what a surprise.
Not kings, just one.
Oh, my hat. The lot of 'em's balmy.
Though, strictly speaking, my mother only carried his mother. But then his mother was carrying the king. So that means my mother was carrying him.
Eh?
He wasn't born yet. He was still being carried by his mother.
Oh, I see.
Mind you, from what my mother told me, it was only a matter of an hour or so after the journey that he was born. And no, he wasn't wearing a crown, or carrying a sceptre for that matter.
A little glow, perhaps, around his head.
My mother didn't say. Could have.
Oh, she must have missed it. It's so easy to do with kings, miss things.
He was a king. He was only a baby, it's true, but he was a king. My mother told me.
Yes, of course. Name, perhaps?
I've forgotten.
How very convenient. Not much good at remembering names, are you?
It'll come back to me.
Right then. What made this baby a king?
Well, lots of things. A star appeared when he was born.
Where, on his head?
No, in the sky.
In the sky. Look, I don't want to upset you, but in case you haven't noticed, the sky is full of stars. Has been since time began. There is nothing unusual about a star in the sky.
This was a very special star, the brightest star in the sky. It also led to the place where he was born.
Oh, a palace?
No, a stable.
A stable. A stable?
Yes, the king was born in a stable. What's wrong with that?
Oh, nothing, I suppose. I mean, all the kings that your family come into contact with are a bit eccentric. A stable. Do me a favour.
The king was born in a stable.
Oh, yes, it's the trend these days. I mean, why should they have the luxury of palaces when they can get a stable to be born in? Such a novelty. Oh, and the latest thing is for fully grown kings to ride on scrawny donkeys, crown and scepterless. Oh, sorry, but with lovely glows on their heads. Crackers.
When the king was born, there were lots of people came to bring him gifts.
Very nice.
And 3 of the visitors were kings themselves.
And they went to this stable.
Yes, and shepherds as well.
Kings and shepherds at this stable. You'll be telling me next there were angels there as well.
Oh, yes, I forgot about that.
You have a truly remarkable imagination. You want to write this story down. It could very well be a bestseller.
I can't write.
No, neither can I, but it was a thought.
And there's something else as well.
What, in this stable full of kings, shepherds and angels?
No, it was when the king was riding on my back.
Oh, we're back to that, are we? Oh, it's good, that, isn't it? Back to that.
I got the strangest feeling that he was the same king who was born in a stable.
Oh, I would have thought it was an odds-on certainty.
I can't explain it. It was instinct, maybe, but the feeling was quite strong that he was the very self-same king that my mother carried as an unborn baby. Wouldn't it be wonderful if it was the same person?
Oh, yes, it would be so poetic, most touching.
You can please yourself.
I usually do.
You didn't the other day, though. When they came for a donkey for the king, you didn't get a chance to please yourself then. They asked for me.
All right, what did they actually say?
Well, there were 2 fellows. They seemed to be looking around a lot. Then they came over to me and another donkey, to where we were tethered. I heard one of them say, "This is the one we want." And they just untied me and began to lead me away.
Sounds a bit fishy to me.
Anyway, the boss sees this and he pipes up, "Oi, where are you going with that colt?" And they just said, "The Lord has need of him."
The Lord has need of him.
Yep, the Lord has need of him. And the boss said, "OK."
Well, there you are then. He wasn't a king at all. He was just some sort of a nobleman. But I still can't understand why they didn't ask for me.
They didn't ask for you because they wanted me. The king wanted me.
Listen, Sonny Jim, I'm going to tell you something which I'm not particularly proud to have known. But I'm a donkey, and you're a donkey. And sooner or later you have to learn. The simple fact is, kings don't ride on donkeys, or kings' mothers for that matter. We're too lowly for them, though some of us are not quite as lowly as others. I am, of course, on the upper end when it comes to lowliness.
And where am I?
Need I say?
No, I suppose not.
The fact remains, though, if a king wants to ride out somewhere, he doesn't ask for a donkey. He rides on a great stallion, or an elephant, or in a chariot, or he's even carried on a golden thingamy-bob. But no matter what he rides upon or in, it is never, and it irks me to say this, never, and it's a crying shame I might add, but never a donkey.
That can't be true.
I'm sorry, old chap. Far be it from me to upset you, but it is perfectly true. Take my word for it. We are very much at the lowly end of the market. Mind you, to some folk, our lowliness is a charm all its own. I myself can be very lowly when the need arises, which isn't very often, thank the Lord, but we have no appeal to kings, and that, my friend, is definite.
But I was so sure he was a king. The crowds, the shouting. Why, the people fought each other to touch his clothes. They worshipped him. You could tell they would have done anything for him. He was their king. I know it doesn't make sense to you. And to be honest with you, it doesn't make a lot of sense to me. He had to be a king.
Look, you've had a little joke played on you. They more than likely didn't mean any harm. But it's the silly season, isn't it? And these things do happen. So don't go getting yourself all upset. Just put it down to experience.
You could be right. But why? Why should anyone want to be so cruel? Not only to me, but to the man I was carrying as well, making him think that he was a king.
People are like that. They get a prank going, and the next thing you know, everybody catches on. They think it's a big hoot.
Oh, it's a hoot, all right.
Hey, now, come to think of it, this tourist thing I've been flogged to death with all day, well, that's all to do with a bloke who was kidded he was a king.
And he wasn't a king.
No, it was just a big joke. Mind you, the pity was the joke backfired on him.
How do you mean?
Well, what I mean, old chap, is the joke went too far. They couldn't stop it, you see. Got carried away and...
And what?
Well, they ended up giving him the chop.
What? Killing him?
Afraid so. Execution, actually. Crucified he was. All perfectly legal, of course.
That's a bit heavy, isn't it?
I suppose it is, really. But you have to be so careful these days. You just can't go around claiming to be a king. The authorities don't like it one bit.
And they executed him.
They certainly did. Kept me busy all day, I can tell you. The number of folk who wanted to be taken up that hill to have a look. Amazing it was. The boss has made a packet out of it.
What kind of people are they that enjoy seeing a person being crucified?
No, don't knock it. It's the only bit of pleasure some folk have. And anyway, there was 3 of them today, all being done at once. Must have been a kind of a bonus, what with it being the holiday season.
I think it's dreadful.
Well, so does everyone, but it doesn't stop them from being curious.
Well, all I can say is, they'd better not put me on a job like that, ferrying ghouls to watch someone dying.
It's work, son, and that's what we're here for.
If they ever tried to put me on that job, I'd
You'd what?
I'd kick and buck and carry on so much I'd throw them off. Yes, that's what I'd do. I'd throw them off.
Oh, yes, and what do you think would happen to you then?
I wouldn't care.
You would if you ended up being dog food.
They wouldn't do that to me.
Oh, wouldn't they? You just try them.
But doesn't it count? What we feel? Our principles?
Oh, dear. Oh, dear, dear. You are wet behind the ears, my friend. Look, there's a million things I've seen that I'd like to kick up about, but what's the point? I'd only be the loser. So I keep my mouth shut, keep my head down and keep going. It's the best way, honestly.
I don't think I like your way at all.
You suit yourself, pal. But just keep going round telling everybody what you think and what you don't agree with, and tell 'em how you give rides to kings, then see what happens. But don't say I didn't warn you. Don't say I didn't give you sound advice.
I won't. Don't worry.
Now, you're not going all sulky, are you? Well, anyone can make a mistake. Oh, all right, I won't make fun of you anymore.
He was a king.
If you say so, Powell, if you say so. But so was this chap they crucified. At least, he thought he was. In fact, they even made him a crown out of thorns and put it on his head.
How very kind of them.
They put a brass plate up at the top of his cross where they crucified him. King of the Jews, it read. And you missed it all. Missed all the excitement.
I'm very glad I am too.
Poor chap he was. He meant no harm. They tell me everyone hailed him as a king one day and then they put him to death the next. Now that is some pretty little joke, that is. Then to go and cap it all, they make him a crown out of thorns. The king up on a cross with his crown on. He was a pitiful sight. I can see him now. He wasn't a bit angry, though. No, he took it all in good part. Hey, now wait a minute. Come to think of it, there was a kind of a glow round his head. Oh, I'd forgotten that. But there was a sort of a glow, a shining, just like you said your king had, just as if he was wearing a golden crown.
What was his name?
Oh, well, I think it was Jesus. Have you remembered your king's name?
Yes. Jesus.
Oh, I'm sorry. Well, never mind. You weren't to know you were taking part in a joke now, were you? You have to laugh, though, don't you?
He was my king.
Aye, he was your king.
No, you're wrong. He is my king.